Well, Alex Norris, the Minister for Local Growth and Building Safety, joins me now. Very good morning to you, Minister.
Morning, thanks for having me.
Sam just rounded off that report by saying these sorts of blockers really get the Prime Minister exercise. Is that a fair summation?
Well, the Prime Minister's exercised about our plan for change and making sure we can improve living standards all across the country. You know, in this country, we've had a very poor record on growth for the last 14 years. That's what we as a new government have had to take on. We are, of course, looking at all those hurdles to growth, and where they're in the way, you know, we're making sure that we have an environment that promotes growth, and that's what he's exercised by.
Specifically this Our House Convention, which is, as Sam was explaining there, an international convention that allows those trying to challenge building projects, if they lose, for most of their legal costs to be charged to the taxpayer. Is Sam right that you want to remove that?
Well, you know, we're very committed. Keir, of course, has a long record in this area of international agreements and our adherence to an international rule-based order. We are looking at all the hurdles to growth. That's just one, you know, 80 projects we talked about there. There's a lot of issues around the country to make sure we do have a regulatory environment that promotes growth. So I wouldn't want to say any one thing above another, but what I'm saying is we're committed through our plan for change for there to be improved living standards in all parts of the country, and that needs growth to do it. So we'll make sure that we have an environment that promotes that.
So potentially the Our House Convention's application in the UK could be removed?
Well, I wouldn't want to speculate at this point. At the end of the day, we adhere to international law, just as everybody else does. You know, but there are other interventions we could do. For example, today we're announcing our £1.5 billion plan for neighbourhoods. That's about giving local communities the powers and the resources to shape their local economy, to create growth, so that there's local consent for those plans, so people aren't relying on bits of law to try and stop growth because they want it to happen. It's part of the way in which they're shaping their community. So I think we can find that balance, and that's what we're trying to do.
So talk to me about this £1.5 billion today, as you mentioned. This is going to be purely decided by local authorities?
Yeah, it's really exciting. And what we're asking is 75 areas, and each will have a neighbourhood board. So it will involve the local authority, but it'll involve an independent chair, it's not a politician. It'll also involve members of the local community. And we've given a broad shape as to what the money can be spent on, you know, within our plan for change, so things around community safety, around good health, around housing, really broad range of things, because actually we want those local communities to shape it. It's about saying that in this country we take too many decisions down the road here in Westminster and in Parliament. Actually, communities are the experts, so I'm committed to getting them the powers and resources to make that change in their community. That's why we're so excited about today.
Let's talk about all of the news coming out of the White House overnight. Is the United States under President Trump still reliable to the United Kingdom?
Well, we're committed to a lasting peace in Ukraine. That's why we're working with our allies in the way that we are in Europe and the US. That's why we've made the really significant commitments the Prime Minister made yesterday around aid, around using UK export finance, around loans secured on seized assets, around our ongoing commitment. But it's also why we've been doing, of course, as you've seen, lots and lots of diplomatic efforts to get to a secure, lasting peace. And the US are a crucial partner within that.
I mean, clearly the meeting between Trump and Zelensky was one of the triggers for this announcement by President Trump last night. It's clear from the press conference, another thing that might have irked him is all of the meetings that the Prime Minister held over the weekend with European partners. How does one respond to a bully? Back down and acquiesce, or double down and push back?
Well, I wouldn't recognise that framing, first of all. What I would say is we are an honest broker in this process. We're bringing partners together. I think that's the right thing to do to secure a lasting peace. What I don't think we can do as government ministers is commentate day to day on the different twists and turns that no doubt there will be if we're going to secure that lasting peace, as you would expect. Every day we're having these conversations with our partners about what a lasting peace would look like, what Ukraine needs, and that's what we need to do. We need to stay in the present.
Is it fair to say that the Prime Minister's not going to back down from his aim to try and get all of Europe together and power on with funding Ukraine if they want to stay in the fight?
Well, to secure a lasting peace, we need Ukraine to be in the strongest position possible. That's why we need to make the aid commitments we've made. And, you know, that was the Prime Minister in Parliament yesterday. I don't think that could be any clearer about what our plan is going to be there. But those diplomatic efforts are crucial. That's why we did what we did over the weekend. That's why we'll continue to do so. We want to get to a point where we get a plan that then can secure US backing. That's how we're going to get to a lasting peace.
Is Donald Trump not bullying President Zelensky?
I can't talk to people's individual relationships. I don't think that framing's a very helpful one. You know,
it might not be helpful, but it might be true.
It wouldn't be the word I would use. I'm not going to get drawn into commentary, as I say, on what others are saying to each other. That's a matter for them. But what I would say is if we want a lasting peace, that's why we need to do the things we do. We've committed this week to put Ukraine in the strongest position and those diplomatic efforts to get to a secure plan that everybody can back, and that's what we're focused on.
Just finally, there's talk, particularly coming out of Paris, but whether these seized assets, 300 billion euros worth of Russian assets currently in Brussels, should be freed up and given to Ukraine in light of all of the developments. Is that something that should be considered?
Well, I think we showed with the commitment that the Prime Minister made yesterday by saying that the Ukraine can borrow against £2.25 billion of seized assets in this country, that's something we're willing to look at. I think these things can be quite complicated in terms of where the money is and how the legal processes that's in, but we've shown a willingness to do that where we can do.
Alex Norris, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.